It's been about a week since the trailer dropped for Splatoon 3 and we all lost our collective minds in explosive excitement. I mean, it's been almost 4 years since the second game came out, and it's clear the franchise has been a successful one for Nintendo. A third in the series was inevitable. Splatoon is mostly known for its multiplayer aspects, a healthy, growing competitive scene, and its art style, but there are people who may not be quite as familiar with the lore. And yes, there is Splatoon lore. Now, I've watched the trailer several times, and I know I and a lot of Splatoon content creators are going to have a lot to say as we eagerly await additional news. I'll likely be doing additional videos about different things from the trailer, but today I want to talk about something that kept gnawing at the back of my mind over the weekend until I couldn't stop thinking about it. What the hell happened here? Let's back it up a bit. Most of the pieces of lore we have come from the single-player campaigns in Splatoon 1, Splatoon 2, and the Octo Expansion DLC of the second game, along with some bits from official art books. In this video, I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen in the story for Splatoon 3. Granted, we only have a little bit of info about this new game at the moment, so these are guesses and nothing more, but I am so excited. The Splatoon 3 trailer opens with a Mad Max vibe, with an Inkling taking off their hood. I love the greater representation in this customization process, by the way. And then we spot next to them none other than, what? A Salmonid? Haven't we been hunting those this whole time in Salmon Run as a part-time job at Grizzco? Our little buddy seems to be abnormal in that it has formed a symbiotic relationship with our character, whereas most Salmonids are still known to be dangerous. Or at least I think they'll still be dangerous in the third game. In the Splatoon 2 Salmon Run co-op mode, we're attacked by hordes of salmonid creatures while we take their eggs for Mr. Grizz, our boss, who pays us for our work. Now, I've made a lot of jokes about capitalism when streaming Salmon Run, but before we get into what I think might happen in Splatoon 3's story mode, we need to talk about what a great idea Nintendo came up with for Salmon Run. A Salmon Run is an actual thing in real life, but instead of squid and octo kids grabbing eggs to give to a bear statue, we've never actually seen Mr. Grizz. It's an annual period when salmon swim up rivers to lay eggs for future fish to spawn. Grizzly bears will often hunt salmon during this period as the fish go upriver. Fun fact, adult salmon in the wild eat squid. So, in Splatoon, we have a bear using squid kids as bait to hunt salmonids. That's not nice. No wonder he's such a terrible boss. Dare I say, could he be the antagonist in Splatoon 3's story campaign? After all, we haven't actually seen him, and I don't think bears actually exist in this setting anymore, considering they're not sea creatures. There's even a tie-in to the Octarians of Splatoon 1 and 2's story campaign, because, as we know from the Splatoon 2 art book, the Salmonids and Octarians have formed a commercial agreement and are trading Salmonid eggs for the Octarian technology. But because the golden eggs are precious to Salmonids, they don't trade those. Those very same golden eggs we gather in Salmon Run. So, to what end does Mr. Grizz need these golden eggs? And why are they so precious to the Salmonids? What if Mr. Grizz has a connection to the Octarians? What if he is one? So far, our story campaigns have focused heavily on the conflict between the Inklings and the Octolings in the Great Turf Wars. Splatoon 2's Octo DLC finally introduced playable Octolings, and went deeper into lore about Marina being one of the Octolings who broke free of DJ Octavio's brainwashing of the Octolings to do his bidding. By the end, it seems like Octolings are more accepted in Inkopolis. I feel like that story is mostly complete now. There were already a few things before Splatoon 3's trailer that supported the idea of more Salmonid lore in a future game or expansion. Team Chaos won the final Splatfest, and we know from Splatoon 1 that the final Splatfest of the game impacts the next game. In the Chaos vs. Order announcement, we saw on Pearl's Chaos side a Salmonid, which makes sense from their design. They look kind of primitive, like they're less evolved than the Inklings and Octolings. Then at the end of 2019, we got an official image celebrating the new year of 2020, before any of us had any clue what 2020 would be like, with the hidden message of "Save our salmons." I was actually expecting us to get some kind of Splatoon news last year, but with the pandemic, it's understandable that timetables for game development got shifted around. And now with a small fry clearly being in the game, the Salmonids must play more than a minor role in the story mode, right? This opens up so many possibilities. What if this Salmonid becomes more than a cute little friend? What if it develops greater sentience through the story? What if this is a preview for a playable Salmonid character? Or Salmonid NPCs? What if something in the world is finally forcing them to stay on land and evolve? We know that the setting for Splatoon seems to be on our Earth, albeit a post-apocalyptic one. Sunken scrolls from the previous story campaigns have showed us that over 12,000 years ago, sea levels rose dramatically and resulted in the eradication of much of life, including all of humanity. Pearl and Marina sometimes even joke about humans in a sort of, I wonder if they ever existed sort of way. And there were human remains said to have been found buried with game consoles, as said in the Sunken Scrolls at least. Then 2,000 years ago, the water levels receded, and creatures previously from the sea had to adapt to being on land, hence our Inklings and Octolings as we know them now post-evolution. While Inklings and Octolings can't survive in water anymore, the Salmonids can. But what if there's something about the Splatlands being in an arid desert climate that would maybe force the Salmonids to come onto land? Or what if Mr. Grizz is doing something to them to satiate his greed? So, we find ourselves back at the Eiffel Tower, upside down, in the sand. While some people have tweeted about this being the tower from Splatoon 1, if you look at the structure, it is most definitely the Eiffel Tower. And while I know there was a tweet from the Nintendo of Europe account in 2016 with a picture of Callie and Marie by the Eiffel Tower, I don't think that's particularly canon, as it was promotional art celebrating a Squid Sisters concert at Japan Expo 2016 in France. But it's one of several things we can see glimpses of in previous games that are left over from humanity's time on Earth. In the Octo DLC, Tartar attacks with a massive statue in the form of a human. In Salmon Run, there's a destroyed shuttle in the background of the Arc Polaris map. And wait a second. What is that? Okay, I know that last part might be reaching, but hey, it's flummoxed me for years. But it's clear that the Salmonids have been a threat to the Inklings for a while. In a sunken scroll from Splatoon 2's story mode, there's an image of a weirdly biblical, apocalyptic event from the Book of Madai, a fictional text in-game, depicting what looks like two Inklings running from a Salmonid horde, while 7 rings open from the sky. The text accompanying this scroll is, "When smoke rises from the 7 rings, the pink fish will emerge from the sea, devouring all the creatures of the land." The Book of Madai, Chapter 10, Verse 10. This and a few other scrolls are about Salmon Run, and I'm hoping that this darker lore we see from the scrolls ends up becoming relevant in Splatoon 3's story. Is there going to be a Salmonid attack on the Splatlands? Or are we going to fight Mr. Grizz and protect our friend? What if, by the end, we make peace with the Salmonids? It would be really sweet for us to reconcile differences with this other race and work together in Splatsville. And after all, there's clearly something shady about Mr. Grizz. While a lot of this is me spitballing, I'm certain the Salmonids are going to play a larger role in Splatoon 3 than they did in Splatoon 2. I wonder if we'll still have a Salmon Run mode to play with friends. Wouldn't it feel terrible to go kill the brethren of little Buddy? No, we can't have that. Whatever the story ends up being, I can't wait to see more Splatoon 3 announcements leading up to its release next year. Do you think I'm way off base with my guesses? What do you think is going to happen? Or what would you like to see happen? This has been such a blast to think about, and I love chatting about Splatoon, so if there's anything I didn't mention that you'd like to chat about, you can hit me up in my streams on Twitch. I stream about 3 days a week with a variety of games, but I do play Splatoon at the very least once a week. I'm even doing a charity campaign starting tomorrow with fun Splatoon incentives, so come on by. That's it for me in this video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to stay off the hook.